Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update on this magnificent Monday. If you are new around here, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one every single day around 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening in the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And today we have a hell of a lot to get into. We are going to be starting things off with CoinShares Digital Asset Fund Flow Weekly Report. And I'm pleased to announce that this was the largest week on record. We're going to be taking a look at what saw what inflows. Actually, very interestingly, if you're into XRP, there was a lot of institutional, or what I would consider institutional appetite through these ETFs and ETPs towards XRP. In fact, it was over a tenth of Ethereum's volume. And of course, Ethereum has the spot ETFs. XRP doesn't even have an approved ETF within the United States yet. So the fact that it's doing the volume that it's seeing thus far shows something very interestingly. But we'll be covering the report more broadly. Of course, Bitcoin, the star of the show. Ethereum broke, was it its record or did it do slightly higher in January? We'll look at it. Then we're going to talk about the disappointment around Brad Garlinghouse's 60 Minutes interview. I thought this would perhaps do a lot more for the price in terms of limelight. Hasn't been the case, but we will discuss that. I think a lot of people very disappointed in it. Also, some news in regards to caution out there. The Cardano Foundation Twitter account was hacked. I don't know if it still is. They were putting out some stuff last night about the SEC and all this madness. But we found out, or I found out very quickly, because Twitter is both the best and the worst place for information, that this is due to a hack and a sort of breach. Then we've got news from Amazon. Amazon now potentially looking to buy Bitcoin and add it to their treasury. Are Coinbase censoring or restricting accounts? We'll talk about that, and then we'll get into some price action. The market's pulling back today, but do not fear because Allincrypto is here, and this is just part of the natural journey that the space is on and embarking on. Let's get into CoinShares report. We like to do this on a Monday. CoinShares release a report every single Monday where they look at inflows into the space and, of course, outflows through essentially digital asset funds. So exchange-traded products, exchange-traded funds, so ETFs, funds more broadly, this kind of stuff. So it's more of an institutional grade of participants because retail will typically just buy on exchanges. However, very interestingly, retail has been a large participant in BlackRock's ETF. Satoshi's vision was not to have institutions custody your crypto, but certainly that's the way a lot of them are going. So largest weekly inflows on record of a $3.8 billion with ETH seeing record inflows. So it wasn't in terms of overall volume. I think ETH did higher in January, but certainly in terms of inflows specifically, you can see this is the graph. Pretty spectacular, just shy of $4 billion in inflows. That's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Digital asset investment products saw the largest weekly inflows on record last week, totaling $3.8 billion, smashing the prior record set just a few weeks ago. Ethereum saw the largest weekly inflows on record of $1.2 billion. This is huge. There's a real shift towards altcoins coming, and this is the natural progression of flow of capital into the space. Higher than the ETF launch in July. This has come at the expense of Solana, which has seen 14 million in outflows. I'm sure some of you might be happy about that. Blockchain equities, however, saw 124 million in terms of inflows. This is the largest since January this year. And you can see iShares, which is BlackRock's US ETFs, obviously leading the charge. This is the inflows. So this is where the capital went. I'll just make this larger. Very interesting. Bitcoin, Ethereum doing nearly half of Bitcoin's volume, which is a major shift. Multi-assets down, Solana down. Look at these inflows for XRP. Over a tenth of Ethereum's US ETF inflows, and XRP doesn't even have an ETF vehicle yet. Certainly in the United States, which is predominantly where the money... You can see just how dominant the United States is in terms of volumes. Now, that is impressive. Binance seeing inflows, Litecoin seeing inflows, Cardano seeing inflows, short Bitcoin products seeing inflows, Chainlink seeing inflows, and others. Quite a pickup. Digital asset investment products saw the largest weekly inflows. Regionally, a wide group of countries saw inflows, the largest being the US, of course, with 3.6 of that 3.8 billion. And remember, largely there's no products in the US when it comes to XRP. And it's very impressive, that kind of inflow that we're seeing. Bitcoin saw 2.5 billion, bringing its year-to-date flows to 36 billion. And that's in inflows. Ethereum saw the largest weekly inflows on record, 1.2 billion. Higher than the ETF's launch in July. Blockchain equities saw 124 million. That's a lot still. The largest since January this year, driven by growing investor confidence in improving Bitcoin miners' margins. Very interesting. We do actually own miners, own free miners, and of course own Coinbase, but we got that significantly cheaper. So there's clearly an institutional appetite that is only growing at this point, and there's a shift towards the altcoin sector. With the likes of Ethereum, and I think that's very, very evident. Let's talk about a disappointment that took place yesterday. Certainly, I watched it. Yeah, it wasn't quite as bullish as I thought it was going to be. Brad Garlinghouse, of course, made a debut on 60 Minutes. There's no doubt that these technologies will continue to become more and more mainstream with influence and reach that will only continue to grow. A few things I do want to comment on after watching. I spoke with Margaret Brennan 60 minutes for 90 minutes plus straight. When discussing the SEC misguided lawsuit against Ripple, 60 minutes shockingly left out that the federal judge ruled that XRP is not a security. Gensler's shill, John Reed Stark, knows better despite his comments that 60 minutes chose to air. Lastly, to say crypto has no utility is exactly what the naysayers said about the internet in the early days. It's nothing more than illicit activity. This is a total nonsensical argument at this point. Obviously, Silk Road is what they're referring to there. The biggest used tool for illicit activity is, of course, the US dollar. Anyway, how vastly they were proven wrong. Today, even JP Morgan is coming around to blockchains convincingly, or conveniently. 60 Minutes also failed to mention that Ripple is doing billions of dollars of KYC transactions for our institutional customers, leveraging XRP to move money across borders more efficiently than traditional payments. Shame. Real shame that. However, it is what it is. You know, there's the media's media, certainly mainstream media. We are the new media, ladies and gentlemen. This is the new media. We will become, I believe, certainly in the UK and perhaps globally, one of the largest sort of outlets for crypto media. And you guys are going to help me get there. So thank you very much. And you've done so thus far. Last week we were 100k followers. Today we're on 113k. One of the fastest growing crypto channels that there is, period. A lot of people just discovering this channel. So thank you. Yesterday, this is from Charles Hoskinson. I'm not going to show any of the tweets that were posted. Looks like the Cardano Foundation account got hacked. Try harder hackers. Yeah, not great, to be honest. They were posting all sorts of things like the SEC and stuff like this yesterday. But just really getting this out there to warn people if they do see stuff or have heard things coming out of the Cardano Foundation, that account has been compromised. Interesting news as Amazon shareholders have requested the company to explore adding Bitcoin to its treasury. So Microsoft was, of course, first. Amazon is now. Is Apple next? Who knows? But this is just a vote. So this isn't... in fact, I don't even think likely to happen. I think largely what you're going to have is... And it's up to the shareholders, but there's some pretty large shareholders in both Microsoft and Amazon that might be opposed to this. It's a vote to see whether they actually do this and the treasury look to implement Bitcoin to their holdings. I actually think it makes sense at this point. There is a real danger with the world leveraging Bitcoin on their balance sheets in the sense that if there was some sort of a volatile downturn, you know, that would have really harsh repercussions. And I actually think in the future, but this is for my second channel that we will be working on, we'll probably announce that in January when we look to do the carnivore diet. Again, something I've done many times previously, and you'll get to watch me lose a hell of a lot of weight and, you know, my brain start to function in the manner that perhaps it was designed to, without all these foods and things that, you know, we eat. Certainly the UK diet and standard of produce is horrific. I actually think there is, getting back to the point here, perhaps a planned demolition of Bitcoin coming in the future so they can herd everybody into these CBDC stable coins that they've got coming. But interesting news out of Amazon all the same. Also, a lot of circulations on Twitter about Coinbase essentially restricting accounts. This is Coinbase's response. There's a lot of FUD misinformation about out there about Coinbase restricting accounts. We've seen a surge in new users and old users reactivating their accounts post-election, along with this surge, as typical with surges, we've seen 2 to 3 increase in fraudulent attempts at fraud prevention. So Coinbase essentially saying that they are locking some people's accounts due to fraud taking place. So I think this is a two-sided story, something to watch. Remember, not your keys, not your crypto. However, I do like Coinbase as an exchange. I have to say that. But actually, if you do look at the comments here, and we're not going to go through them, there's lots of people claiming that their accounts have been restricted. You've got to remember, if you want to use Coinbase, and let me make this apparently or abundantly clear to people, it's essentially a bank that is regulated by the same people banks are regulated by. They've got KYC, they've got all these things they have to do in order to operate in the likes of the United States or the UK. So don't use Coinbase if you don't want to do that stuff. It's that simple. You are not going to be able to pull a fast one on Coinbase at this point. And if you're in a country, I've got absolute advice that I can give people here that does implement rules in regards to taxing, in regards to all of this stuff. Don't try whilst you're in that country, and look at Roger Ver, who I don't think did anything really wrong. Don't try and mess around with your governments, because they throw out very harsh sentences for people that try and do things like money laundering. For any of this sort of, if you are trying to avoid not going through the legal procedures that Coinbase have to follow, that's on you, that's not on them. However, if there are accounts that have been restricted for no reason, that's not a great story. But people are using Coinbase thinking it's like some sort of exchange that they can just get money out of without going through all the sort of KYCs and things like this. It doesn't work like that, I'm afraid, guys. But Coinbase cleaning this up. I like Coinbase Exchange. But also, remember, one thing the cryptocurrency gives us inherently is the, certainly for now, the right to custody our own cryptocurrencies. You can always go down that route. The on and off ramps are certainly vectors, though. Let's talk a little bit about the price of Bitcoin. Very much just following the roadmap that we've set out for it. Having a bit of a pullback today, but in the grand scheme of things, it's largely irrelevant and nothing, I do believe. Some interesting price movements going on. I thought this would squeeze and you see continuation, but it's certainly coming back into it. We'll see. Realistically, Bitcoin is due for a pullback. So is the cryptocurrency space as a whole. Your total twos doing exactly what they should have. You're going to have pullbacks along the way. Don't get too greedy on them. They're really just pit stops before we see that continuation. And I guess that is largely it for me, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to love each and every one of you on that note. Have a magical Monday. Hopefully we've delivered a jam-packed daily market update as promised. Great news about inflows in regards to the ETPs, exchange-traded products, whether that's ETFs or whatever it may be. Record Ethereum flows, really nice XRP flows, really nice sort of asset flows generally. Disappointment about the Brad Garlinghouse 60 days minute. The Cardano Foundation a Twitter account has been hacked. Amazon are potentially looking to buy Bitcoin, or there's certainly a vote that's going to be put to the shareholders, or they're putting it forward. Rumors that Coinbase are restricting accounts, but are they, or are people just trying to go around doing things that Coinbase have to legally implement? And if they are restricting accounts, for no reason, that's not okay. But when you're getting into, know who you're getting into bed with. You're getting into bed with essentially a bank that has to adhere to banking restrictions. And when you do that and then you go, why have I got to do all this now? It's your fault for not really looking into what Coinbase are. Coinbase are a regulated institution. And when I see people sort of say, this is unfair because, this isn't what Bitcoin and Satoshi's vision was. The industry is no longer following Satoshi's vision at this point. It's been totally hijacked. Go listen to Roger Ver on that. Free Roger Ver as well. If anybody wants to make a documentary on Roger Ver with me, let me know. Get at me. We will do that. We'll facilitate it. We'll fund it. Roger Ver needs to be free, in my opinion. That is it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Markets having a bit of a pullback. It's natural. It's part of the process. I'll love and leave you on that note. See you all in the next one, guys. Have a magic Monday. See you soon.